Alright, YouTube. Did a little bit of riding yesterday with my buddy Tony, who just got a pretty well set up Yamaha FZ07R, so an FZ07 with fairings on it and a built motor. I think it's got an R6 front end, and he was running pretty good. We were trying to figure out where he was losing the most time, which was pretty apparent, but it's a lot easier to look at it with data than just riding behind somebody at their pace. So he sent me his data, have it up compared to me at November last year. So Tony did a best lap of 134.965 at NCBike with the chicane running counterclockwise, and then last November I did a 32.641. So right off the bat, just a reference for what everything is. This is the speed trace, so miles per hour. Tony is blue, I'm red, and shown up here. And then this is the time compare, so I'm the red, and as the gap between blue and red gets bigger, that's me pulling away from Tony. If it gets smaller, that means Tony's pulling back up on me. So start off coming down the straightaway. Tony is actually a bit ahead of me because his bike has more motor, and he gets a top speed of 131, where my SV on that particular day was hitting a top speed of 123. But Tony brakes, let's see, maybe 100 feet before me, a little bit more, and he also scrubs speed maybe a smidge faster. So while we get to the same slow point going into turn 1, which is past the first apex of turn 1, I get there a little bit smoother, and I scrub less speed getting there, and bring more speed going into turn 1. So he's ahead of me by 0.26 going in, or at the top of his speed trace. And then by the time we get to the slow point of turn 1, I'm ahead of him by 0.16. So probably 0.3 seconds in total he could gain there just by braking a smidge later and scrubbing less speed going in. But his slow point's good. His first time on the bike here, I'm not too worried about it. I'm sure it'll come to him. And then just to go through and look at his slow points, they all look pretty good. Here, going into turn 4, he's a smidge late. His slow point's about here, right at, or maybe even after the apex. Mine's before. As you can see, I'm accelerating when he's still slowing. And then he has a tendency to pick up throttle too early, which is, it's going to happen. But if he can clean that up, it'd be a lot, he could get a lot more speed the following turn. So like right here, going into 7, he picks up his throttle too early, then he has to give it back, only to accelerate again. Meanwhile, I've already started opening the throttle and going through the chicane, and same thing for here. I believe this is going into turn 10. He picks up throttle too early. Or no, that's the opposite, that's me. I did the same thing, but I was just carrying more roll speed, so it worked out. And then going from 1 to 2, Tony seems to go a bit wide, and then he tips in too early for 2. So from the slow point of turn 1 to the slow point of turn 2, I gain about 0.2 seconds on him. So that's just a line thing. He pushes out just a smidge too wide, and he makes the track longer for no reason, and I get a better drive out of turn 1. And from 2 to 3, pretty similar, not worried about it. And then 3 to 4, pretty similar, the lines are pretty much the same, just the slow point is a little bit different, and overall I'm just faster through here, but he'll get better at that, I'm not worried about it. Where I think he should work mostly is from turn 4, the apex of turn 4, to probably the entry of 7. As you can see here, there's a gap between his line and mine, the speed trace anyway. We go from being, he's then 0.465 seconds on me, to by the time we get to coming out of turn 6, he loses 0.3. Then coming out of, or actually that's turn 5. Coming out of 6, he loses another 0.2. And then here's the big one. From the apex of 6, or just before it, to the apex of 7, or what I call 7A, he loses another 0.4. So just right there is probably a second from here to here. So going back and going through each thing, by slowing a little bit more earlier for 4, and then letting the bike slow and point down track, then accelerating, you get that time back, then being a little bit more confident on the brakes, going into 5, scrubbing less speed, carrying more entry speed, and then his exit's pretty okay, coming out of 5, and then a little bit more confidence going into 6, and it looks like I tip in later, but if I remember this lap correctly, I think I just blew that turn, but still made it up. So entry speed's better, and then my roll speed slightly better. Then the exit of turn 6, I don't gain a ton on him, maybe a tenth, but here's where it starts to go downhill. When he rolls into 7, he chops the throttle either completely or almost completely, and that's where that gap comes from there to there. When what I do, if I hit it right, is I keep the throttle on, say half throttle, and I tip in, get the bike on the side of the tire, and just hold it there. And my speed starts to go down, and then once, I try not to look directly in front of me at like the straightaway or the airbag fence. I try to look at the apex of 7A. Then as soon as I think I need to brake, I brake, and then pull it back into the apex. And that's where I start going downhill. And by the time I'm pointed down through the chicane, he's still got the gas open and he's pointed off track, so he can't truly accelerate, which I can. So I accelerate and get away from him. Then from here to, let's say, 9, he's pretty good. And going into 10, he's pretty okay. Just I have a little bit more roll speed and entry speed than him. And then his next worst turn is probably 11. 11, he gets out of the turn pretty good, almost actually better than me, as you can see his line. But once we go to tip into 11, I keep the gas on, and I think he shuts it off completely. And then once we get into 11, I start to roll it off, let the bike point, and then I'm back on the gas to make the straightaway longer, which is, on a small bike, is huge. So if I can, actually I can make this bigger. Yeah, if I can, I like to get the gas either opening or fully open back here as I'm hitting this apex. That way I can get my small, slow SV up to whatever its top speed is faster. So all in all, Tony's got about 0.95 seconds between 4 and 7A, and 0.3 seconds going into 1, 0.25 seconds going from 1 to 2, and about 0.35 seconds from 10 to 11. I like doing this a lot more than trying to follow somebody at a track day and figuring out where they need to work on, and vice versa if I'm doing the same thing. Whereas with data, it's just there. There's no arguing about it. And if you want me to try to do this for you, and you're in the same, as long as you're not running sub 30, or probably sub 27 on a 600, I can probably find something for you. Just shoot me an email. It's weighttransferperformance@gmail.com.